start my speech in three, two, and one. As OG, we wanted to make it very clear from the beginning of this debate is that this is a debate about which side can actually save the environment more, and specifically in countries most affected by climate change. So it's about in which bench can actually provide a better solution to the problem. Because on our side, we say that we would make the provision of farming subsidies contingent on the adoption of green farming practices. And PM on my side has made this very clear from the start that if like farmers, because they have made it very clear that farming subsidies is basically a type of money that we pay farmers for the food or for the crop that they produce. So this means that farmers do not just produce foods for free. And if now we require them to adopt green farming practices, they don't just do this for free. They get money from doing this as well, and OO must understand this. So, a couple of responses when starting my speech. First of all, the main idea from OO is that they say this will negatively affect farmers because farmers have tight budget and it requires significant new technologies. It requires training programs, and the impact is financial losses. We believe this is not the case here because the motion, even though the motion requires farmers or any kinds of institution to adopt green farming practices, we believe that they do receive money because the motion specifically say that the provision of farming subsidies contingent will be dependent on the adoption of green farming practices. This means that if farmers they are encouraged to adopt green farming practices, this means that they will get money. This means that they will get funding from the government also because in lots and lots of countries when farmers they are like one of the most important stakeholders in this debate since they're the one who produce food and the government is responsible for the money they're responsible to pay for the farmers so that the farmers can continue their job and produce food for consumers like us. So this means that training programs or money, those are the government's responsibility. And let's notice the fact that those are countries most affected by climate change. So this means that they are already on the verge of facing global warming and climate change. Yet OO thinks that this is the case and OO still believes that we should not adopt green farming practices and just let global warming happens. We think that OO must prove to us a better alternative on their side on how they can save the environment better than on our side of the house. So now let's come to what my PM has proved in this debate. Prime Minister and OG proved that this will encourage sustainable agriculture and it will lessen the environmental impact. And this is completely true since if you must know, then farmers they often prioritize short-term gains due to economic constraints, which can potentially lead to environmentally harmful practices. And if we make subsidies conditional on green methods, because the government will provide a strong financial incentive for farmers to choose sustainable option. And this will definitely reduce the economic barriers to transitioning to green farming, and it will make this a better option for farmers, and over time, this can entirely shift the entire agriculture sector towards more sustainable and environmentally friendly practices. So, what we have proved here is that we have successfully rebutted the other side on how the point they say this is negatively affect farmers is completely wrong. Now, come to our second sustainable argument, in which this will improve long-term food security. We're talking about long-term, and we're the only side who cares about long-term. So, climate change, as we all know, definitely is harmful to food security because climate change means, specifically in countries that are mostly affected by climate change, means that those countries face severe weather patterns, like unpredictable weather patterns, lots of droughts, and other disruptions that will harm crop yields. And with green farming practices, examples of green farming practices can be organic farming, or it will make agriculture more resilient and stronger to these changes. And this can definitely ensure that food production is like more preserved in the face of changing climate, because on our side of the house we we focus on countries most affected by climate change, meaning that those countries, they are on the verge of not having enough like not having enough incentives to actually continue their job. So this is specifically crucial in developing countries where the population heavily depends on agriculture for their livelihoods. And moreover, this implementing this policy will means that like farmers, they will prioritize their jobs more, and food security in the long term will definitely be secured. So overall, we've never been proud to propose this motion.